break. I am also delighted that I could sign the legislation to formally completed Croatia's adoption of the euro. I congratulated my ministerial counterpart Zdravko Maric on his success after many years of hard work. Today, we also continued with the implementation of the RRF, and I believe we will soon reach a quick agreement on the Commission's package Repower EU and its implementation into RRF. Of course, we have also discussed the economic impacts of Russian aggression and the efficiency of the EU sanctions against Russia. I am sure Valdis gives you more details about today's agenda. Then we will be ready for your questions. Thank you.
Now, Vice President of the European Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. As you saw, we are off for a flying start of the Czech presidency with the first ECOFIN meeting concluded under Czech presidency. As you just saw, the ECOFIN Council approved the legal acts for Croatia to join the euro area as of January 1st, 2023. Once again, congratulations to Croatian authorities and people for this achievement. Also, ministers endorsed today the provision of 1 billion euros macrofinancial assistance to Ukraine. This is a first part of the EU's exceptional macrofinancial assistance package of up to 9 billion euros to help support Ukraine's macroeconomic stability and deal with challenges caused by Russia's brutal war. We welcome the Czech presidency's focus on Ukraine and Eastern Partnership region. We should explore all options, reconstruction for Ukraine and also the broad resilience of the neighborhood region. It is clear that the economic impact of Russia's aggression against Ukraine will continue to dominate our agenda. We have to deal with record high inflation, tightening financial conditions, also with energy and supply chain issues. Despite the major shocks that the EU economy is facing, it is showing a remarkable resilience. However, we should not be complacent. It is good to see the presidency to place a strong focus on strengthening the strategic resilience of the EU economy. We are also pleased to see the presidency priorities in economic and financial areas that they are well aligned with those of the European Commission. We believe that the EU economy should continue to grow, but at a more subdued pace. As you know, we will publish our summer economic forecast on Thursday. Much will depend on how the war develops and any resulting economic shocks. The Commission will update this forecast later this week. On the fiscal side, it is important to embark on the path towards more prudent fiscal stance, moving away from the broad-based stimulus which we used during the pandemic. We rely on the presidency to steer the debate on medium and long-term policies, as well as on the future of EU fiscal rules. For this, from the Commission side, we intend to present an orientation paper in autumn. In the meantime, the war in Ukraine has made our common challenges even more urgent, energy supply in particular. Above all, we need to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, especially those imported from Russia. And at the same time, we must raise use of renewables and boost energy efficiency. This is why our 2022 country-specific recommendations call on Member States to do more to meet the goals of Repower EU, to move towards more diversified energy mix. The Recovery and Resilience Facility will be a key instrument for doing this, so proposed amendments should be concluded as a priority. Given Europe's energy supply challenges, especially as winter approaches, we really need to move fast on this. At the same time, we must press forward with broader structural reforms and investments. At such a critical moment, it is vital to prepare our economies for the future and raise potential growth. It means a strong focus on member states carrying through their recovery and resilience plans. A quick update on the plans. After last month's adoption of the Polish plan, 25 member states have now plans in place. We have just received the Recovery and Resilience Plan from the Netherlands and are assessing it. We are working constructively with the Hungarian authorities to finalize our assessment as soon as possible. The implementation of the RRF continues at full speed. This is shown by the level of disbursements made so far, where we have passed the 100 billion euros mark. All efforts are now geared towards preparing and assessing payment requests. To date, we have received 11 payment requests, and we expect more to come during the summer. Lastly, a few words on financial services. Our priority should be to ensure the stability of financial markets, both national and pan-European. We look forward to working closely with Czech presidency to make the European banking sector stronger and more resilient, and to fight financial crime with tough anti-money laundering rules. And we need more progress on the Capital Markets Union to return Europe to a sustainable growth path, drive the green and digital transitions, and make our economies more resilient. To conclude, I would like to wish all the success to Czech presidency and to you, Zbigniew, and there are many important files which your team will have to steer during this half a year. Thank you.
Thank you for your opening statements. Now it's time for your questions. Please, I just remind you, you need to use the microphones on sides. Financial Times, please.
Thanks, Sam Fleming from the Financial Times. Two unrelated questions. First one on the macro-financial assistance. The leaders endorsed up to 9 billion in the May summit. We're now in July. Are you confident you're going to be able to overcome the opposition from some member states providing the guarantees necessary to meet the full 9 billion, and how quickly do you expect that to be possible? And the second question was on the RRF. The Hungarian Prime Minister has sounded a lot more positive in recent days about the chances of a deal with the Commission on the Hungarian RRF. I wondered, Executive Vice President, if you share that confidence and how quickly a deal might be possible. Thank you.
On the first question, indeed, Commission has announced exceptional macro-financial assistance program up to 9 billion euros, and something which has been endorsed by European Council both in May and June. So we are currently following up on this work and intend to present the next proposal as soon as possible. Indeed, we are in discussions with member states concerning the necessary guarantee. So in between, we now moved forward with this 1 billion macro-financial assistance program, which is now approved, enabling us to disburse this amount till before summer break. And this is something which we can do within existing multi-annual financial framework, and we don't require additional guarantees from member states. So those discussions on additional guarantees are ongoing, and hopefully we'll be able to move forward very soon. Well, on Hungary's recovery and resilience plan, as I was outlining, we are in constructive discussions with Hungarian authorities. Well, outstanding issues are well known, and once they are addressed, we are able to move forward with finalizing our assessment.
Jestli mohu doplnit,
If I may,
myslím si, že schválení těch posledních dvou národních
that
plánů
as for the
obnovy
approval of the
je
last
důležité
two
pro
RRPs,
všechny členské státy,
that is
včetně
important for all
prezidentské
member
země,
states, including the
protože
presidency,
připomeňme si, že
because
tenhle
let's
nástroj
remind
vznikl
ourselves that
na
the
oživení
tool was
ekonomiky po
created to
pandemické
support
krizi
the economy
a v této chvíli
after the
debatujeme
pandemic.
živěji s komisí a
And
s
we are now
ostatními
in
členskými státy
negotiations
o
with the Commission and other member
implementaci
states
Repower EU
on the
package,
implementation of the
a
Repower
abychom ho mohli
package
implementovat,
in
bylo by
order to be
dobré, aby všechny členské státy již měly schválené své národní plány obnovy, protože dneska jsme o tom docela intenzivně debatovali a určitě se k tomu budeme vracet na všech ECOFINech a máme ambici tu implementaci Repower EU provést ještě do konce letošního roku. A k té první otázce, jakmile komise předloží další návrh finanční asistence, tak to budeme velmi rychle v rámci agendy ECOFINu projednávat, jakmile to bude možné.
Thank you. Next question here in front.
Yes, hello. Giovanni Del Re for the Italian newspaper Avvenire. I have a question on the fiscal stance for next year. Because both yesterday and today you are insisting on the necessity of going back of fiscal discipline, which is understandable. But now that it looks very likely that Russia might completely stop the delivery of gas, and this could trigger a major crisis and even maybe a recession, do you think that also in this scenario your policy will be tenable? Thank you.
Indeed, both yesterday in Eurogroup and today in ECOFIN, we had discussions on the fiscal stance for 2023 and European Commission's fiscal policy guidance. Indeed, our recommendation is to move towards more prudent fiscal stance. At the same time, as we were discussing before, clearly we need to move fast away from our dependence from fossil fuel supplies from Russia, as it's clearly not a reliable supplier, and we cannot be dependent on someone who is openly threatening us. And this requires additional investment. So we are providing also some additional resources to finance the Repower EU plan to address those challenges, and there is also a potential of unused RRF loans, which we are also proposing to accelerate the allocation of those loans and potential reallocation of those loans if there is member states who are not requesting them. And what we had also outlined in our fiscal policy guidance, that this additional investment needs to be combined also with a stricter control with other, meaning current expenditure. Because what we see indeed is that inflation is at record highs, financial conditions are tightening, so we cannot continue with a broad-based fiscal stimulus. We need to be more targeted and find the right policy mix to address both challenges stemming from the energy transition and also addressing record high inflation.
As a presidency country, we believe that we'll move forward in negotiations on fiscal stance. I believe that, in particular in hard times, we cannot forget about financial discipline. We have to remind ourselves that some tools are unique and will never happen again, like Next Generation. It's a unique tool that should serve for the economy's recovery. And I also believe that once we'll look at the independence of Russian fossil fuels as a reality. It is clear that every member state, including the presidency country, we try to balance every week. We try to look for the balance on one hand between social peace, on the other hand between fiscal discipline. And at the same time, we are looking for a balance between the need to invest and we need large investment, in particular when we want to be energetically independent. And on the other hand, we have fiscal stance. However, I believe that if we proceed reasonably, we can reach that balance. And I'm fully convinced that we cannot leave not even one single pillar behind. We need social na úkor těch ostatních, ale současně taky žádný z nich nemůžeme úplně upozadit a neřešit v těchto těžkých dobách. A já věřím, že ve spolupráci s komisí a Valdis řekl, že na podzim představí orientační návrhy, dojdeme k nějakému dobrému řešení, protože my všichni potřebujeme realistická pravidla, vymahatelná, na kterých se shodnou členské státy i komise.
Hi, thank you very much for the question. This is a question for the Executive Vice President. Sorry if we can have another crack at the Ukrainian, the aid for Ukraine, the financial aid for Ukraine, in the sense that, again, I mean, we were given a figure of 9 billion. We have to tell our readers and our public that it's only 1 billion for now, and it would just be really nice if we could have just a little bit of detail of like why it's just 1 billion. And I think in Lugano there was criticisms of the EU that it was only at 1 billion, and it's it actually, I mean, the question is for both of you. It's just if you could just give us a little bit of background of what the debate is on what is stopping the 9 billion be 9 billion. Just a little bit of something to hang on to. Thank you very much.
Well, indeed, what is important to underline is that Ukraine is facing massive short-term financing needs. IMF is estimating them for this year at $39 billion. We had seen pledges, for example, in G20 framework around $20 billion, but clearly more work is needed. And that's why there is this Commission proposal of macro-financial assistance of up to 9 billion euros. So 1 billion euros, it's something which is now decided, and we will be able to move forward with preparing now the disbursement. As regards remaining 8 billion euros, the question is about provision of member states' guarantees, because given both the exceptionally high risks and also exceptionally high amounts as concerns macro-financial assistance programs, it's something which we cannot do within margins of existing multi-annual financial framework. So that's why we are calling for member states to provide those additional guarantees, and that's exactly what is right now subject of those discussions, the guarantees and modalities of provision of those guarantees.
I'm sorry to say we have time for one last question. Bloomberg, there.
Can you hear me? Yes. Good afternoon. Jorge Valero with Bloomberg. If I may insist again on this, because the situation remains stuck with Germany discussing on the level of guarantees for weeks. And you sound slightly hopeful, Vice President, that you might find a solution in the next few weeks. I don't know if you mean even by the end of this month, it will be already in autumn. And what kind of solution will it be? Will it be Germany providing that amount of guarantees that you're requesting, or are you considering somehow factoring in that 1 billion euro of grants that they provided last month in the context of the G7 finance ministers meeting? And secondly, on the reconstruction plan, I think the Commission was working on a concept paper that will frame the discussion with member states, but we haven't heard anything since May when you first announced few ideas. You outlined few ideas for the reconstruction plan. So I don't know when are you going to put forward a proposal more to beef up those ideas that you announced in May, whether it will be for September when there will be this joint conference announced by the President von der Leyen between the EU and G7. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, on the support for Ukraine. It's important that in support for Ukraine we use so-called Team Europe approach, and that we combine different support which is available, support which is provided by different member states in different forms. We know that Indeed, member states are in solidarity with Ukraine, support which is provided by the EU level, support which is provided by European financial institutions, and all those sources of support should complement each other. Of course, it has to be done in a coordination and in a coordinated way. So, therefore, now on the macrofinancial assistance, as I said, the discussions are on additional guarantees and specific modalities. I cannot now go in much detail as discussions with member states are ongoing. But as I was outlining, there are different member states which are providing different forms of support for Ukraine, and what we are doing at EU level should actually be complementing this. As regards longer-term Ukraine reconstruction question, at the beginning of July we had a Ukraine recovery conference in Lugano where we were discussing those issues in depth. And indeed, the next important milestone would be this reconstruction work together with G7 and G7 German presidency in September, because it's clear that Ukraine reconstruction will require massive financial effort. And it will require mobilization not only of the EU but of international community. So while we are willing to lead and coordinate this process and provide substantial financial contribution, it's important that broader international community is mobilized, G7, other countries, international financial institutions. So indeed, this event in September will be important next milestone in this work.
Would you like to say something, Minister? No. So this is the conclusion of the press conference. We thank you very much for your attention and wishing good afternoon.